The HVS-490 has, as standard, 16 channels of DVE, with an additional 16 channels available as option. So my DVEs, I could simply assign those as picture-in-picture and have a total of 12 of those on the system. I can also assign them as background transitions. So I have 118 patterns of DVE available as background transitions, from simple slides to squeeze effects, pinned corners, and as you see, simply all you have to do is find the pattern that you want on the pop-up menu. You see a representation of what the A-B transition is. We even have dual channel DVEs as standard, so I can slide left to right or really get adventurous here. Now, in a case like this, you see I have exposed the background, because I have my A bus and my B bus. When using a dual channel DVE, you see I've exposed the background behind the A bus and B bus. So the system lets me use a utility bus that I can select and replace that transition background with any video source from the switcher. So I go from A bus through to B bus, exposing a transition background. The HVS-490 uses a sub-effect function to allow you to create special effects on signals, from monocolor to defocus to colorizing to strobe. So there are two ways to use sub-effects on the switcher. I can simply take an input bus and turn it into a source for a modified signal. Here I have a red flower, and in my sub-effect menu, I use the signal for that red flower, input 6, and then I take and assign that to sub-effects. So on my bus, I'm going to take the sub-effects signal on the preview bus and transition it to the program bus. So I can go back and forth between or cut back and forth between a color signal and a black and white signal. Rather than monochrome, I could defocus this signal using H or V. So if you have a section of your program where you need either modesty or to hide someone's identity, that defocus will work for you. If I go to a circle pattern, I can use this to form a blocking filter on my video, which can be moved within the signal. And then the other way to do this is to apply it to a key layer. So I have a key layer turned on, and my sub-effect for the key layer uses a signal from the bus, and I can do a monochrome or a defocus, or I can do a paint in both luminance and chroma. Do a negative image or a mosaic. So there's two ways of applying sub-effects to it, and you have a total of 4 sub-effects generators in the HVS-490 that can be assigned either to buses or directly to keys. The HVS-490 has 4 channels of color correction. So each channel can be assigned to an input. So color corrector 1, our input is going to be still 3 for the sake of demonstration. So on screen we see the flower that has been captured. We can adjust balanced and differential mode. We could, let's bring up the reds on that. In balanced mode or in differential mode. So obviously differential mode being the better in this case. So now we can make the flower brighter red. We can adjust the black level in the red channel individually, as well as gamma. So you can isolate the image. You can use it to tweak the image in general across the entire image, or to isolate red, green, or blue. You also have clipping enabled to prevent the color saturations or the color imaging to be higher than allowed. And we can reverse all settings with an initialize. So that is color correction. And in the color correction, we had a 4 channels. We said each channel holds a input, but there are 2 methods of handling the settings. I have the input method or the channel method. So in the channel method, all of my color correction settings are going to be applied to any signal that is input to this color corrector channel 2. In the input method, each input is going to store the values for the color correction. Another type of color correction or processing on the switcher is our input proc amps. So proc amps are quite useful in being able to set the setup and luminance gain of any channel, and to also set the chroma gain and hue. So if I have small POV cameras that do not have a CCU and are not easy to handle processing because they may be mounted inaccessibly, we look at the first window on the multi-viewer here. We'll select our input channel 6. So in addition to the 4 color corrector channels on the HVS-490, every input has a proc amp. The proc amp allows you to control the setup level or black and the luminance gain of the signal. So if we look here at the screen, I can crush the black on the signal. I can elevate the gain of the signal. I can also punch up the chroma gain. So if I have a CMOS camera that needs to have its gain improved, I can do that. And I can change the hue of the signal. And this function, proc amp function, is also available on each and every output of the switcher.